we got a problem over at the Land of the Mouse, bro. There's a
Mm.
big situation, and I think people forget that Disney starts with three letters that form the word dis, as in disrespectful. Disney and Scarlett Johansson of the Black Widow fame here, they're going at it. There is a discrepancy here, and
Mhm.
somebody owes some goddamn money here. Did you get a
Yeah.
chance to read that article that I sent you?
Yes, it did.
Oh man. Okay, so as someone who just saw the movie itself, where are you landing on this? Have you heard the story?
Haven't heard the story of what's happening? I told you I read it.
Well, okay. Let me rephrase. Now
Right.
that you have read it
Yes.
and you've seen both sides to the story, where are you landing on this? Because the controversy of it is
Pay her.
exactly.
What do you mean?
Yeah, because there are actually
later. Fucking pay her.
because there are
Fact of the
people.
matter is, we can make this short and sweet. They had a plan. They signed a contract, right? They're
reneged
using
on
the
it.
verbiage of that contract to pretty much say what we did is validated, and they did it because COVID was about to affect their bottom line. And the fact of the matter is some people in their brains, they're not going to hit that number because there are just way too many fucking people afraid to either go to the movies because of shootings
Right.
or because of COVID. And to be honest with you, when we went to the movie, my wife was on edge the entire fucking time. She was looking at every exit. And then literally, I'm not even fucking kidding, a week after we went and saw the movie, a movie theater got shot up. So she was like, yeah, see, this is why I couldn't fully enjoy the movie because I was afraid I was going to get shot the whole fucking time. Fuck movie theaters. I'm not going to them anymore. It's not worth it. So all of that, Disney understands that, right? They know analytics better than anybody. They know things that Scarlett doesn't. And they know that if they didn't let it all go at the same time, they're not going to recoup as much as what they put into it. So they have to do what they have to do. And unfortunately, they did. It's so funny that someone as big as Disney, who could easily not really be affected by COVID because they could create bubbles, right? If we're making a movie, we create a bubble, we put everybody in this bubble who's making the movie, and we can produce the movie. It's not the best way to do it because people's way of life kind of gets changed a little bit.
Mhm.
But if you really want to do something, the NBA can do it. You can fucking do it. You can make it happen. But they hide behind this to make decisions or to alter contracts. I'm sure there's some verbiage in there that gives them the right to do something completely like opposite of what the contract states, but then also makes it so that they don't have to count streams towards those bonuses. And I
Right.
believe that's what the issue is. She's hitting her numbers are low because of what's going on, and the streams don't count towards her contract, which is why she's pissed off that they released it right away rather than trying to what's the word I'm looking for? Incentivize people to go to the movie theaters.
Right.
So yeah, pay her fucking money, man. That's it.
Before any of this happened with Scarlett and Disney, as far as the streaming service releasing it at the same time with theatrical release, when COVID hit and started becoming a trend that movies would start releasing on the streaming site, I wish I should have did this before we went on the air, but I said at least on 2 occasions on this show, they're not going to release Black Widow on Disney Plus. And because everyone kept with the whole, just release it already, no. Because if people can't go to the theaters, they're not going to fucking release it. Defeats the whole fucking purpose. The movie theater industry was struggling, and they make a majority of their money. I know streaming is the future. That's where we're headed. But in the meanwhile, that's what they've been doing. They have been utilizing, excuse me, sorry, I just plugged something in. They've been utilizing the theater experience. Kevin Feige himself said, when we make these movies, we do it with the idea of a packed movie theater in mind. This is what we keep in our mind when we make these films. They are reliant on the theater-going experience. Now, Why? Obviously, because you're spending more money, right? You're spending more money to go to the movies, snacks, travel, all that stuff. You're spending more money at the movie theater to see these movies than when you watch it from the comfort of your own home. $30 flat is a minimal price that you're paying compared to what you're actually paying when you go to the movie theaters. All right, especially if you've got a bunch of Rugrats and they all want to see the film, blah 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 blah. They make their money off of the theater.
And everyone knows that the best way to save money going to the movie theaters is buying all your snacks and popcorn beforehand,
right, which
and
is why
why
all the fans wanted them to put it on Disney Plus, and I get that from your point of view, but I was thinking about it through the eyes of a business owner. They would be fucking ridiculous and dumb, even if it had a $30 price tag. Nobody wanted to watch Mulan. So I can get why people were pissed at the $30. Nobody wanted to see there wasn't a demand for Cruella like that. Cruella and Mulan ended up being pretty okay movies. Cruella probably more than Mulan. But I understand why they bitched about the $30 because it wasn't worth $30 to them. This movie was worth $30 to them. Meaning you were going to take a bigger hit with this than any of the other films because they actually want to see this. And to give them a cheaper route was going to hurt your overall bottom dollar. Now,
and right there is what you just said is the reason is the main point, is the fact that they realized that they took these two movies that nobody really wanted to see and they made money off of it. Yeah. How many people watched those movies because they were $30?
Yes,
they weren't going to the fucking movie theaters for it. So they saw the numbers that they made with those movies and said, holy fuck. Can you imagine if we put something on here that someone actually wants to watch? We're going to make more on the back end and we have to pay less out because then we don't have to pay the bonuses for theater numbers because currently right now, this is how it's going to work. Scarlett's going to get screwed. Hopefully she wins, but she's going to get screwed. Unfortunately, she is going to be the guinea pig. Going forward, those are all in contracts.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, not a single actor is falling for this again.
So this is a premier name that they can make a shit ton of back-end money with her not involved, and they're hiding behind COVID to do it. That's what you just said was the business reason why they're doing what they're doing is because they've just made way more than they made way more probably than they even have to pay her out with how many people.
No, I understand that, but that's why I'm saying on the where I was getting with that is that on the business end, I think this was a bad decision. It was a bad. I understand financially it made sense. They went with the best because of exactly what you just said. They played their hand.
So
we experienced something just like this on the wrestling end.
What's your point?
When the WWE Network began streaming their pay-per-views, the pay-per-view paydays, the bonuses you would get for being on pay-per-view or being on the main events of pay-per-view all went away with no discernible reason or compensative suggestion otherwise. They just stopped doing it. Now, wrestling side of it, no one's unionized. Everyone's in it for themselves. You're not going to get many waves. On the other end, on the acting side of it, when they signed her contract originally, there obviously was no language in that contract stating that this movie would be released as a premiere access on Disney Plus. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here.
That's safe to assume, considering that Disney's clapping back. Because if they didn't feel like they had a leg to stand on, they wouldn't say shit.
But the only leg they're standing on is that COVID changed the game. That's all they have.
I'm just backing up what you said. You're right. It's an assumption, right? But it's a safe assumption.
It's safe to say that if there's a lawsuit and the fact that they're responding to it, that originally in the language of this contract, COVID was not an issue. Now, obviously, there was no COVID. Remember, this movie was originally scheduled to be released 2020, right? The May release of 2020. This film and this contract was both filmed and signed long before that ever happened.
Right.
So,
and I promise you there is some type of verbiage in the contract that states giving something of this magnitude happens, they have the right to alter their plans.
If that's the case, then this is going to be a tough case for Scarlett. But if it's not, not that way, if they didn't have that built in, because how many contracts have, well, as long as there's no worldwide pandemic, we should be fine. We've had
They're,
diseases like this in the past where the world didn't shut down.
they're not gonna say it. They're not gonna say it so blatantly. They're gonna be. It's gonna be one of those vague sentences that
They'll
fall
manipulate
under
in court
that.
to be like,
Right. That's what they do. Right. They're really good at their lingo and their verbiage to make something as far as a stub toe or world apocalypse fall under the same umbrella, and then they can just use that to do whatever the fuck they want.
here's where I
promise you,
here's
it's
where I
Disney.
think Disney's in trouble. Because even with that language in place, yes, Disney, I'm sure, did some CYA process to put it in the contract to protect themselves. I'm sure they did something.
Right.
I don't know what it is. We don't know what it is, but I'm sure there's something in there. Otherwise, they wouldn't have clapped back either.
Right.
This would have been handled quietly. But the fact that they took a stance to the court of public opinion tells you they got something up their sleeve, too. Here's where I think Disney's in trouble. Kevin Feige, who was basically running Marvel Studios, and those are the two studios together who are co-working together to put these products out, the MCU, before Scarlett took this to court. When the decision was made originally, even before the movie was released, when they had decided, okay, we're going to release the movie July 9th in movie theaters, this is the final date, we're sticking with this is cemented, we're going to do this, but we're also going to release it for premiere access on Disney+. Kevin Feige went public and stated that he was disappointed in the decision. He thinks this is a bad idea. This is not good. And the only two reasons that he gave was because of his theatrical release thing, the one that I mentioned earlier. When we make these movies together, we really put it together with the idea of full movie theaters and blah, 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 blah.
He's referring to the contract and what he's saying.
Well, the first
he's talking about the design of the movie, but what he's saying out loud to people in the industry who understand what the fuck he's saying is, we designed these contracts.
No, but he said contracts specifically. You got to let me finish. He said on the creative side, we put these movies together with the full idea of full movie theaters together. The second thing that he mentioned was because of contractual obligations.
Right.
So he did state specifically this is a bad idea because we've got some contracts in place where this could be fucking with things.
Right.
And like you said, if Disney had it in their head, we have an out here. We could do whatever we want. Fuck who we piss off at this point because it's quote-unquote COVID.
Right.
Right? And they're just going to make whatever decision they want. Disney's at a point now financially where they could eat, even if Scarlett wins this, they'll eat the money. It doesn't matter. But I think where this was a bad decision is exactly what you said earlier. Scarlett taking them to court and putting all of this in the public eye, every actor after her is going to make entirely sure, moving forward, that we have this streaming service thing figured out. Because SAG has a union. There is an actors union in place to stop shit like this from happening. And if Netflix and Hulu and all these new streaming sites, Amazon Prime, want to roll with the big boys like the MGMs of the world, or the 20th Century Foxes of the world, their everyday average movie production companies, they want to roll with them, they're going to all have to start getting on the same page. Because this can't be happening. Apparently, Scarlett Johansson's contract had bonus incentives based on box office success. The more success it had, the more money she was going to get. And they cut into that when they made it available for the streaming service. And the streaming service apparently wasn't in the language of the contract. There was another website. I didn't link it to you, but when I was I thought the article I sent you had the most information in it. But there was another article that I had read where apparently Scarlett had come to her agency, who she deals with or does business on her behalf, and expressed them to reach out to Disney to restructure the contract because of COVID. Meaning when the discussion started about the postponement before they got to July of 2021, when they had like those two other dates and then they kept pushing it and kept pushing it. When those reschedulings took place the first time, apparently Scarlett went to her agency and tried to renegotiate so that they could release it on Disney+. And then Disney never returned the phone call.
Yeah, because they didn't need to.
They didn't need to.
They don't owe her shit. Yeah, she signed it. It's done.
According to Disney, they're like, she got her $20 million. She should be fine.
You're good. We fulfilled our contract. It was shitty. Something happened. You weren't prepared for it. Listen, you can look at Disney and say, hey, you didn't like no one knew that this was no, she could say no one knew this was gonna happen. We should restructure the contract because it's fair. And yes, again, this takes me back to the conversation I was having on Facebook. You're right. That is fair. That doesn't fucking matter. Business is business. And guess what? I know moving forward, because if there's one thing that COVID taught us, is we are going into a full-blown streaming era. The movie theaters keep getting fucking shot up, and people are getting sick. No one wants to go to the fucking movies. Everyone is going to watch it in the comfort of their own fucking home that they're spending a lot of money because of inflation to fucking live in. No one wants to leave the house because you're either getting killed or whatever the fuck is happening. We're going to move into a fully blown streaming era. It's coming. So they know this. We're already seeing lots of it with the Disney Plus and everything like that. Everything is based off of numbers. If you sit in your home and you do not think for 1 second that Disney does not have a 10, 15, and 20-year plan when it comes to numbers, speculation of the way the industry is going to go, the way they're formulating contracts, if you don't think that they have a budget for all of that, understanding increases and percentages where they should be at those moments, if you don't think they have goals that they need to achieve. Now imagine having that mapped out and you have this golden situation where you can influx your profits for this month or for this year by double because of a situation. You're not going to take advantage of it? In your business mind, you're going to take it. I'm not restructuring that contract.
Yeah.
I just hit a gold mine. And you know what's funny? A lot of people will look at that and go, well, that's fucked up. Why wouldn't you do that? Bruh, any person who says that, I would tell them, yo, if you found $2,000 on the floor and you saw the person that dropped it, and there are some people, how many of you are going to go up and fucking give it to that person or return it to that person?
Yep.
A lot of them motherfuckers ain't gonna do it. So I hate when people get on their high horse and start spewing out.
They're only on the high horse when it's not them. When it's not them.
That was my point. I literally made that exact point, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I made that literal exact point, what you just said on Facebook, when I said, when you are not invested, when it's something you can care a little bit about, but you're an opinionated person or someone who wants to actually like contribute to the conversation or feel like you want to, everyone is a justice warrior. But if it's affecting your pockets, now you have a different opinion. You know what I mean? Now you're looking for reasons why what that person is doing is wrong and why I'm right and the justifications and stuff like that. And that's not everybody. Everybody's different. But I've been alive for 33 years and I can kind of see the patterns of people. I've lived this, you know what I mean? Like, I understand. We can both agree that the majority of the people in this situation, sitting in these rooms, being in that board with Disney, who's in control of contracts, is going to sit there and go, I mean, we could restructure this contract, but this shit's airtight. Anything we make off the stream is 100% profit. No one knew this was coming. Why would we restructure this? This is bad for the business if we do it. No one in that room when they're discussing this, having the meeting, because they are having meetings, and saying, damn, yo, we got it. Let's take this multi-million-dollar hit to take care of Scarlett Johansson.
Who, by the way, is now done with them. That was her last project.
Dude, I'm sorry. Like I know it's shitty.
They fucked her on the way out, but you know what? They would have. I think they would have restructured if they felt they had to. They didn't feel like they had to.
Contractually, yes. If they felt like they were going to listen, man. Are we going to lose money or gain money? That's the answer those questions in your head in any which way you want to. But if you're the business, whatever answer you land on, you're just gonna do whatever you have to do to get the result that you want out of whatever place that you fall in. If you're going to lose money, you restructure the contract. If you're gonna make money, you ignore the phone call.
Yeah, restructuring the contract would have been giving her money that we're not entirely sure that she would have earned.
Money.
because
Absolutely.
her whole argument is based on funds that she thinks she could have had. That's the
Correct.
whole. That's the whole argument. Well, if you didn't put it on Plus, you could transfer that money over to the movie stuff, and then I would have made. Oh, but we don't know that.
Right.
So that's going to be hard to prove.
Unless
Unless they got to sit there and go, look at all the other Marvel movies. Right, but you were also, none of those movies took place during a global pandemic. How many people were going to the movies to see this film?
Tons, massive.
No, but comparative to the other films? To see Black Widow in a post-COVID era, which we're not even fully out of yet because you just described it there, between the mass shootings and spikes in the population, how many people were actually going to go? It would have made more money than anybody else. It's a Marvel movie. But will it have made money comparative to the other ones? Because if you're going to tell me that she was screwed on money based on projected income, where are you getting your numbers from for this projected income? And if it's based off of other MCU films, I don't think they're going to look at it because those other MCU films were not released during a fucking global pandemic.